Wow, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Powerful Stuff. So, Powerful Stuff, as you all know, is your one-stop shop for inner connection and outer connection while having a little bit of fun along the way. I am your host, Meredith Baker, leadership coach, Taylor Swift aficionado, and CEO of Powerful Stuff. And it's my hope that these episodes leave you feeling more connected to your authentic self and thus more deeply connected to those around you. Today's episode is a long-awaited episode. It's been brewing for a minute, and it's something that a lot of people have told me they want a Powerful Stuff episode on. And we're going to go into the personal trenches. So I have one of my best friends, Abby Neff, who is a model and a health and wellness influencer, and also an amazing chef and just deeply caring person and friend. And we've been good friends since 2020. However, we did have a friendship hiatus over a year and a half, 2-year period. And so this episode will actually be about navigating the changing seasons of friendship and what our inner dialogue is telling us, when to speak to a friend, what it's like to navigate changing friendships, and when we're both, in changing worlds or other changing communities. So hopefully if you're going through this with a friend or a loved one in your life, you'll feel less alone and have some more ideas of how to broach this topic with the people that you care about. Okay. Wow. Well, welcome to Powerful Stuff, Abby.
Thanks.
Oh my gosh.
Finally here. Thanks for
know.
having me.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for saving our friendship.
Oh,
yeah. And so I would love to start off by sharing a high level of what happened, and then we'll rewind it back to kind of like a chronological origin story of our friendship and see where it takes us from there. But yeah, in your words, what were the 4 main timestamps of our friendship with the whole situation in there?
Yeah. So obviously coming off strong, we really hit it off as friends. In the very beginning, we had very aligned values, things that we liked to do together was super fun. And we just clicked to where you became my best friend, especially obviously the pandemic. We had a lot of downtime. We did a lot of fun trips together. And when things started to lift from the pandemic and people weren't really so much doing intimate things, it became more of a group activity thing. And as our friendship kind of progressed, it shifted for me where we weren't necessarily doing the things that aligned with the things that I wanted to do because I have social anxiety. And then I became distant with you because I wasn't feeling safe, I guess. And I also didn't know how to set the boundary of I love you and I love our friendship, but I don't love doing certain things that we do together. And I didn't know how to explain that, because then I felt if I wasn't open about it, then I was just letting you down. And I have a fear of letting people down, making them not feel good about themselves. And that is what is so beautiful about you, Mare, is that you create these containers for people to connect and get out of their own personal identity and really open up and share who they are and add value to their lives, which was something that I needed to do but feared doing. And because of that, I kind of put up a wall where I just didn't communicate with you, and I didn't tell you why I didn't want to see you anymore. And it wasn't that I didn't want to see you, I just didn't know how to communicate that. So it was a lack of communication, lack of setting the boundaries, and then also just eventually. So the next chapter of that is eventually I just didn't feel I just didn't know how to reach out to you, or a year and a half had gone by. And at that point I'm well, if I say something, then, I'll start, I don't know I still didn't know how to set the boundary. So then it was honestly you having the wedding, not inviting me. And it was reminding me how much I missed you, how much I loved you, how sad it was that you were one of the most caring, giving, influential friends that I had, and that I just kind of let it fall flat for no reason. I knew you'd understand. I just didn't. You're one of the most understanding people, but I still did not know how to tell you. And so I just let it get out of hand. And then eventually when it comes time to actually talk about it, it was like, how do I do this? So then it was just trying to recreate the original friendship by going on runs together and doing things together that just felt organic, going to the beach one-on-one, like really trying to catch up. And then I kind of had like I cried. It was an open up for me where I really just needed to tell you how much you meant to me. And it's not explaining to you how much you meant to me that led me to the disconnect. Like, I don't think you ever really knew that.
Yeah. And I appreciate you like laying it out here for me too. Cause it's like, yeah, from my perspective, it's so funny how these things can like snowball the longer we go, to your point, without saying it. Then it's like, well, I've waited this long, and it becomes more and more and more of a thing, or like more and more pressure. And then from my perspective, I was like, oh, I feel like Abby just doesn't like want to hang out anymore. And it did kind of coincide with a time where you were in a new relationship, and he has a lot of cool friends. And so I'm like, maybe she just like is like good on like new friends.
And it got to the point where she actually, come to find out, I put the pieces together that she'd muted me on Instagram.
I know.
Because guilty. I called her out, and I was like, as I started to see her again, I would say certain things and she just had no idea. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, does she not follow me anymore? Crazy. And I looked, and you did. And I'm like, she had to have muted me because she would know all of this. Yeah. And you did, and you can share why.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I shared, or I did mute you because in my mind, I know, and you had your reasons of like, you know, wanting to do like separate things with me that you thought maybe like weren't what we used to do together. And then in my mind, I was like, it felt like I was being hurt every time that I saw you hanging out with like your partner's friends, and like a new group of girls. And like, I felt like I was being like replaced, or that because of that, you weren't reaching out to me as much anymore, or I didn't feel like a priority. And so it wasn't like I was like, fuck Abby, I want to mute her, but more so to like protect myself, because it was like a little like knife in my heart every time that
oh my God, my heart makes me so sad, because you're one of the sweetest people on the planet.
And I was like, oh, I guess
what a crazy time. It's like a breakup. It was a breakup with like ghosting involved, not setting boundaries, not communicating, leaving someone in the dark to just like wonder what happened.
Yeah.
Like, you had no idea what happened. This was all going on in my head. But instead of like saying, yeah, Mare, like a simple solution to this entire thing, I love you so much and I love our quality time together. Let's spend our time doing this instead, because this is what makes me feel good in our friendship. And instead, I've just like, I felt bad about saying anything. And then that ended up leading us to this crazy 1.5 year long hiatus for no reason. And then I missed your wedding. There's just so many things that the reason this is such an important topic is because there are friendships that you can let go of that don't serve you anymore if you don't have, you know, healthy activities that you do together, or that it's a friend that's like not serving you. But our friendship was serving both of us.
Totally.
And then I just let my anxiety kind of like disconnect. And yeah, you're right. I had a new boyfriend, and I had more friends, and I had more time spent with them, so it became less of a priority. And especially as time went on, and then at the end I was like, no, like, I miss you. Aww. Like, I should not have ever done that. That is like, it's crazy, and it's so sad to be like, I mean, I've told other friends too that Meredith and I had a falling out. They're like, Meredith? And I'm like, I know. Whatever.
We didn't even know how we had the falling out.
No.
We're fallen, but we don't know how we got
and
here.
It was so weird, because then I would like, there'd be, you know, board game events, and there'd be friends getting together and doing a dinner. And if you were there, I'm like, I don't know if I should go, because like we haven't talked about it, and it's just weird. And it's so funny what like not communicating, such a simple thing in relationships with your friends, family, partner, like that is the core of it, really.
Yeah. And that's what it can lead to.
Yeah. Fear of like letting someone down. Ends up being like so debilitating for me.
And then we end up letting them down by having the fear and not acting on it.
What a gross spiral.
It's crazy. Okay, so that was a great like overview, and I feel like now we can rewind it back and go through each of those stages kind of in the weeds.
Yeah.
So obviously we had an amazing first run.
Yeah.
I feel like we met at a party and it was like instant, like, oh my gosh, we should be besties.
Yeah.
And we had like a 12-hour first like hang or something.
Yeah, it was like meditation on the beach. She brought tarot cards. We went on a run. We came to my place and we did a workout, and then we did.
You made me like avocado toast on those Trader Joe's flax crackers.
And she's vegan, gluten-free, so that was perfect.
We did yin yoga.
Yeah.
Adjusted each other's pigeons.
Yes.
I've always like kind of masterminded each other's like platforms and content.
That first date, so to speak, ended up being kind of like things that we would integrate within every hangout. Yeah.
And I feel like that was like peak 2020 as well, when we were like deep in COVID, and I feel like new deep friendships were so important then, and we also like had kind of a mutual friend connection of another group of friends outside of Venice, which I think strengthened our bond, because then we had the Venice friends together and then like these other friends up in like the Hollywood Hills. And we kind of saw each other through a lot of crazy like life moments in that short amount
of accident
of time. Yeah.
So many things.
I was rear-ended on the 405 and Abby came and picked me up as my car was getting towed away, and she like talk to like my parents or like my insurance company while I was like hyperventilating.
There were so many things that we were like really there for each other.
I saw you through your LASIK surgery and your first relationship.
Yeah, she was there through the thick of it. That was hard.
Yeah.
The breakup, and she was like really helpful through all of that. So I think for people listening to, what would be, how do you know if it's a friend that you need to like revisit, or a situation that like you just let go?
I think like what you said earlier of like, you know, when at first, like, well, the short answer to that I think is exactly what you said of like, do I still enjoy this person? Do we still like grow together? Are there things that like they still bring out in me that I love, and vice versa? And maybe it's not like they need to be in every area of my life, but I think like I think after that first year, maybe it was when we started to like taper off, or like the first like year and a half. And so it's like all of those things that we did together, I loved. And then, you know, COVID was changing because like the pandemic, you know, more people were seeing each other. So it's like, then there was more people to hang out with. And then you had your new partner, and that was a whole new world of friends as well. And I think like at that time, it was like hard to discern of like, it was hard to feel the absence of the other fully. Because like I was also in a new relationship, and we
got on okay.
We got on okay because it was almost like, you know, after a relationship, not like denial, but just like, oh, okay, well, like that's sad, but I have all these other things that I could be, that I'm filling my time with. So I think it didn't like, at least for the first like 4 or 5 months for me, it didn't fully hit me. I was just like, that's annoying, but whatever. And I think for me, it showed up as like, just feeling like maybe I would ask you to do something and you would say no, or like couldn't go at last minute, but then wouldn't like ask to reschedule.
Yes, very good point. I became a very flaky friend, and I would never follow through. And when you would invite me to things, I would kind of like leave it open-ended and then just not go.
Yeah.
And then that kind of was the like reoccurring thing, because I didn't know how to say, no, I don't want to go to that, because it was something you curated and put work into. And like, I wanted to show up for you as being one of your best friends.
Yeah.
But then it became too much for me to even like be in a position for. So when you stopped inviting me to things, I got like a relief, because then I didn't have to say no.
Yeah.
And then that created the disconnect.
Yeah, exactly. Because I in my mind, I was like, well, if she's just going to flake, then like, I'm not even going to invite her. And I think, from your perspective, it was probably a relief. And then the funny thing there that happens with me is, like you said, I'm an extrovert. I also have an experience company. So I invite all of my friends to my experiences, but it's more like a buffet from my end, not like an expectation. Because I know that some of my friends, as you and I discussed later, like, you know, maybe don't have a high social battery, or like can't go to all of those things. But I think like maybe from your end, it was like feeling overwhelmed. It sounds like, in like, oh, I need to say yes or I'll disappoint Meredith, versus had we talked about it then of like, I love you, but I can't go to like these kind of big events. Like I would have been like, oh, cool. We'll just have a beach walk then.
Yeah. And you made a very good example too when we started to see each other and I explained everything. Another friend of ours does this really well where she says, Mary, this isn't my thing, but I love you and I want to see you, and sets time aside to water the friendship instead of just like let it die out.
Right. And that's the thing that I love of like when you can't, if you do care about a friend and like you can't see them, they invite you to something. If you follow up with an alternative time or activity, it like shows them that you still want to invest in them.
Yeah.
Which I feel like we've gotten really good at on the other side.
Yeah. On the other side, the stronger.
On the other side, growing
powerful.
Building back even more powerfully than before. But yeah, so like that was where the initial disconnect happened. And then can you walk me through your thought process of like you felt disconnected, you were in this new world with like, you know, a new relationship, new friends, like having had this, you know, the pressure relieved from my invites. What was like when did the sadness start to kick in for you?
I mean, the sadness was kind of always there. You obviously felt like I wasn't thinking of you always, but I was, because there were so many instances where I was like, oh, this would be so great. Or I'm like on a run by myself. And I'm like, oh, this would be great if we could just like text each other and go on a quick run. And there was moments that I wanted you there, but I just, because it never cured and I didn't know how to like hit it head on, I just kind of didn't reach out on those like tiny instances. So yeah, just over time, I just didn't know how to say something. And it was just,
And it was just building. And then I think for me, like, and I don't know if this was the inflection point for you for when you reached out, but obviously Spencer and I got engaged and then got married. And when we were coming up with our wedding guest list, that was like one of my hardest boundary settings of like obligation and expectation and not wanting people to feel excluded in friend groups, but also wanting to do what felt like honest to like who I wanted there. And of course, like in my heart of hearts, like I wanted like the Abby that I was like besties with to be there.
Yeah.
But then there was this like funny thing that happened of like a fear of rejection. Cause I was like, if I like, we haven't spoken in like a year. And also if I invited her, the pain would be too great if she like said no or like didn't respond to the invite, that I just want to avoid that because I will feel like it reaffirms that I don't matter to her. So it was almost like I didn't invite you, not just like one, because we hadn't talked in a year, but two, also because there was a fear of like if she flakes on this the way like she's flaked on past invites, it would like reaffirm that and would like crush me on like an important day. Even though I know that wasn't what's going on in your mind, it was like almost a form of self-protection.
Yeah.
From my mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Something that's interesting for someone who might be going through on your end, like how you handled this.
Yeah.
If you have a friend that's flaky, not showing up for you, not communicating appropriately, it was probably, I think, January when you decided that you wanted to kind of like rid anything that doesn't fill your cup, anyone that doesn't fill your cup. And like that was a point of sifting through your friends and like the people that are close to you and be like, I don't know about this or that. And then you muted me because that was the only way that you could kind of like move on and not be hurt by things. So I think it's important to note like the tools that you use to protect yourself during those instances, because it hurt. And obviously me flaking on you over and over again hurt you too. And like, at what point do you not say something? Do you say something? Do you just decide to like let it go too? Like, how did you decide not to?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And look at you following the Powerful Stuff arc, letting our listeners in on every step of the way.
Yeah.
Love it. Oh my God, co-host vibes. So yeah, great question. So I did use the mute tool because sometimes it can feel dramatic to block somebody, but it's like, okay, like I still follow them, but it's like more for my own mental space that I don't see her hanging out with people. And then there was like other mutual friends of ours who I fucking love, who you were still good friends with. And that made me feel sad when I'd see like you guys hanging out, like, oh, she still invests in that friendship from our Venice crew, but not me. And so it wasn't anything to do again with like you or that girl, but more just like, that. And like seeing like your new world was just like hurtful. So I was like, why am I being masochistic to myself? So I muted you. And then the question of like, when do I say something? So I think it was like, because I had gotten so many data points, like leading up to like our friend hiatus of like you flaking or just not following up after I put out the effort to make a invite. I was like, these are so many that it feels like it's not a one-off instance. Like if it was a one-off thing, and I think maybe I did say something to you once where like there was a miscommunication and I was like thinking me, you,
Oh, that's right.
and our partners were going to hang out, and then you just decided to like go to Erewhon with him and your partner.
It was very much a miscommunication.
And go to sleep, and then I communicated it, and you were just like, and maybe your response came off as indifferent to me, so in my mind I like communicated around that one instance, and then I maybe tried one or two more times, but like we didn't end up meeting up, and so then I guess that was like the point of no return for me for not communicating, because I was like, oh, I already communicated to her once, and it didn't feel like I got the response back that
which this is after our long hiatus, kind of like, right?
Oh no, this was like, I think it was at the start of it. Was that the
beginning?
Yeah, it was at the start of it. But that's why I kind of like let the hiatus.
We were trying to get our new boyfriends
to meet
and be besties.
Yeah. And mission accomplished now, hopefully. But but yeah, so I think because I had communicated in an instance, and I felt like, I felt from my end like, oh, maybe this like didn't land well, or she doesn't seem like that like concerned about it. I think it kept me from communicating in the long run. So I guess like my answer to that in a long-winded way is like, when I had a lot, or like if you feel like you have already tried, or you have a lot of like data points, like you certainly can say something. But in my instance with that, I was like, I will just manage expectations. If I'm not going to hold on to expectations around her being like in my good circle of friends, I will just let it fall away. I do want to say that another girl, when she wasn't invited to my wedding for another set of, or just like, friendship seasons and stuff, and asked me why, I gave her an honest answer, like on the spot, but because it wasn't like I was going to preemptively like text her and be like, you might be wondering why you're not invited to my wedding.
Of course.
And she received it super well, and her response made me like, respect her even more. But yeah, so I think that's the thing. It's like when you're on the receiving end, it's like checking in, like, have I already tried to communicate something? Like, is this a friendship that in this moment I want to continue to grow? And I think for me, because there was like multiple instances of not feeling like my proactiveness was met, that I was just like, I'll just let it fall away. And if Abby cares enough, she'll say something.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, was like, Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah. I wonder how long after your wedding was it that I saw you? Because I think
you saw me before my wedding, actually.
Oh, did I?
Yeah. You reached out because remember we had like, that was when you, we had like 3 or 4.
I wonder what it was that made me decide.
You texted me, and the first thing we did was go on a walk, and you were like super nervous and said you couldn't sleep that night before. I think it was a few months before, because then we had like a beach moment a few weeks before the wedding, where then there was like that cathartic cry of like, oh, I'm not going to be there on your big day.
Yes, that's right. It was before there was a hesitation in me too to even do it the timing that I did, because I knew it was coming up and I didn't want you to feel inclined to invite me. And I'm glad that you didn't, just because I didn't want to feel like you were, because I didn't want you to think that because I was reaching out and trying to mend the friendship, that was because I wanted to go to your wedding. Although I did want to go to your wedding, I knew that like I was letting you make that decision and take your time.
Yeah.
The timing was just like, I just felt like I missed you so much. Aww. And I just wanted to see you. Aww. And I'm like, every so often it would hit me like, God, why is this taking me so long to like handle this? And I would have talks with other friends and like, yeah, I don't know if you know this or not, but this is happening. They're like, you should just talk to her. You should just talk to her. Just talk to her. I'm like, you're right. And then I finally did. And it just took me so long to do it. But yeah, I think I had a conversation with somebody that like really motivated me, like held me accountable to be like, okay, tomorrow you're going to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you texted me and I was like, whoa. And you're like, hey, could we get like a walk if you're open to it? And I was like, oh, like she,
Yeah, I think the best thing in this situation for both of us is that we're both very open-minded people
yeah,
and we both are very understanding.
yeah,
Luckily, Meredith was very understanding towards me and my situation that I was going through. And I feel like some people would be like, you're flaky. I don't want to be friends with you. But I think
yeah,
you knew who I was deep down.
yeah,
And I think also with other people and their friendships too, it's like, do you really know that person deep down? Are they
yeah,
showing their true colors or are they just, I mean, like you said, seasons. People go through things and people act different ways at different times of their life and handle things differently. And it's important to be open minded and to communicate because, I mean, that's
that's
the root
what,
of it all. Yeah.
yeah. And exactly what you said, I think it like worked well. And we can go into like what happened that chat and like how we rebuilt our foundation from there. But I think it's exactly what you said of like, we both were open minded. Like if I was going to agree to go for a walk with you, it meant that you were open to like hearing my side of the story and not just, apologizing for like your own consciousness. And that I also was willing to go on the walk and like not, make you feel bad or shame you, but to kind of like both view it as like, okay, this is like, we're going to agree to do this from a point of understanding. So I said yes. And there have actually been times in the past, just to go into the nuance, that like, I've had a friendship moment with somebody and I've said no to getting a beach walk because at that time in the past, I didn't have the emotional bandwidth for it. And I wasn't sure if like they were someone who I wanted in my life moving forward.
Oh, that would have broke my heart.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
Oh my
gosh. That would have
gosh.
been so hard.
And no substitute for time.
Wow, you have said no.
And even with that
I mean,
person,
good for you.
yeah, even with that person, like they, their initial reaction obviously was different than their long-term reaction. And like they did, you know, come back around, thank me, and with love, now we can like, see each other and send appreciation and love toward each other. But so it's such a deeply personal decision of like checking in, do I have the emotional bandwidth for this right now? And being honest with the person. Like you can also say like, I do want to go on a walk with you. And like maybe if it was, I mean, I was in a good headspace before my wedding, but maybe if it, is coming before or after a big life event, being like, let's like, do it in 3 months or whenever I feel like I'm like centered or can. And it doesn't mean that I don't love you and don't want to like see this through, but it's really checking in with ourselves of like, is this somebody that I do want to continue to invest in the future? And yeah, in that case I was like, okay, like I'm open to what she has to say, because if things are really, able to come around, like I would like to, yeah, continue to have Abby in my life.
Yeah.
Oh,
There was like a
heart.
with that too. Heart, I love you. When you think about the future of the friendship, right? Like kind of if you were deciding whether or not you really wanted to pursue it, it was kind of the same for me when I was going to do that initial reach out. I'm like, what does our future as friends look like? Am I going to have to go through this again where I end up flaking? Like what's going to happen when I'm invited to an event and then I don't want to go?
Yeah.
And that was almost stopping me from reaching out for so long. But
Yeah.
then as I started to think about it, if I just open up about everything and then I will practice, because I know you're such an open and understanding person, that we'll figure it out together if you're open to it. And then I won't have that anxiety tied to our friendship anymore. And we can just like be open about how we feel about things and like navigate a new way to see each other and to hang out and just to do things that feel good for both of us. Because yeah, I wouldn't want to not have you just because I never really like knew how to communicate. It's such, and too, I knew that it was such a me problem. And it was, I would just hit a breaking point of like, I don't want to be this person anymore. And I don't want to like hold this weight. And there's no reason to do that. And it was just, those weights on your shoulders all the time, like little things that just like bog you down. Our friendship was a big one. And that was on my shoulders for years, a year and a half. And like, I just never knew how to like get through it. And yeah.
Yeah, and I really respect you for reaching out, because I know how much courage that can take, and also like you said, for like thinking through what is my intention of reaching out, because it's kind of like, when people have like the exes who like reach out just to like make sure they have them or to clear their own conscience, and then if you're on the receiving end of it, you can sometimes feel like used or like, oh, great, I gave them their validation and now they're like, cool, I can put them to rest. And so I think it's like, yeah, important, like you said, of thinking through like, what is my intention on the other side of this? Is it to like clear it? Is it to have a relationship with them on the other side of it? Or is it just for my own conscience? And
Yeah.
yeah.
Like if you have a friend who you're like, well, their habits and tendencies are like maybe bad, partying, some substance that you don't want to consume,
Yeah.
things that are just not good for you, then you got to listen to what's best for yourself. But again, luckily we had like a really healthy friendship. But just for listeners, if you have a friend that's like adding toxicity to your life, that's not necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a way to like look at someone and say, I see the good in you. I love your heart. You're such a good person. But then there's also like
yeah, it's a yes and of saying like, I see that and like, that's not my path to be around that right now. Like this is.
So it's really setting strict boundaries with things like that for your own mental health.
Totally. Yeah. And so to go back to that day, like when you texted me, I said yes. And then we were like getting ready to like meet, like what were your nerves like? Did you know what you were going to say? Or you're like, I'm just going to like lay it all out?
I was just going to lay it all out. I felt like at that point I had enough time to really think about how I wanted the friendship to look, because I think that was also what was blocking me, because I didn't know how I was going to approach it, but I knew you would help me through it. I mean, you are a life coach. Like you'll help people through things and navigate them. And I knew that me just like kind of word vomiting out everything that I was feeling and the reasons why, I mean, take it or leave it, that was how I was feeling. And it almost was like saying it out loud and hearing myself talk and you kind of like bouncing back my thoughts. We were able to like figure out why I was being that way. And it was, again, I delayed doing it because I felt like I needed to know the answers to the questions, but I didn't need to. I just needed to like express myself, and then we would like figure out what I was trying to say together. And then that was really helpful too. And that was, again, another reason why it took me so long. I didn't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
But if you're with with a friend, a partner, a family member who just is understanding, it's easy. It's easy to like figure out what you're thinking and feeling. The hardest thing is when it's somebody who's super close-minded and like defines your thoughts, a bit narcissistic, decides how you're feeling.
Yeah.
You've been in those relationships before and your throat closes, you don't know how to communicate because whatever you say is going to be switched in a way that they believe is true. And then I would just be in agreement of that. Like in a past relationship, that's the communication. That's how it would go. But when you're with somebody who's understanding, like, first of all, those are the friends that you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes it easy to do that. If you're with a friend that it's hard to communicate with and you feel like you can't get anywhere with, and they're just, deciding how you feel, it's them, not you. And maybe that's not a friendship that you need to revisit.
Yeah. And that's like the boundary there. And exactly what you said of like, because we're both open-minded and curious and kind of allowing each other to speak imperfectly, like as we're, word vomiting and stuff, it's like the whole thing was like removing the assumption, like you said, what took you so long was like the assumption of like, oh, maybe Meredith will feel this way, or she'll think I'm a bad friend for not going to these events or whatever, versus like, I'm just going to tell her and then we can figure it out and like co-create what dynamic feels good after. And I'm going to actually remove all assumptions of what she's thinking or how she feels about it and just share it with her. And then we'll like go from there.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell when someone's coming from the heart too.
Yeah, totally. And just like the need of like not needing to know the answer or how they'll respond.
Yeah.
And noticing in friendships where we are making assumptions about like how someone's feeling or how they'll feel if we do this versus just like telling them or asking them or like, hey, this is on my mind of like, I can't go to all of your events, but I don't want you to feel like I'm a bad friend. Because I love you. And it's like, yeah, like I said, then it's like, then we could have a conversation. But do you remember like we kind of already talked about it, but like what the main things were that you like communicated that day?
Oh, well, the biggest thing that we've already kind of gone over, how hard it was to just know how to say no and how uncomfortable it was to just leave you on red and like not respond and just be flaky. Like I didn't want you to believe that about me, that I was like a flaky friend. That's disgusting and not me. And I didn't want you to think that of me, especially, so many reasons why I didn't want that. So I tried to communicate that I wasn't being flaky and the reasons why I wasn't responding to you. That was like number one. And number two, how much you meant to me, obviously. Like that was something that I never really shared because everything was really good and I never really needed to in our friendship. I mean, birthdays, we say how much we love each other, but I feel like even now on the other, getting off topic, but even now that we've kind of come back together, I'm like reminding you these little things that you do that are like really inspiring to me. I kind of constantly do that now.
I feel so seen.
You know that I'm doing that though. Yeah. Okay, great.
I love it.
Yeah. She's like, go on, tell me more. So showing how much she meant to me. And then also, but as I spoke about it, it was the point of how are we going to make this better and to where I'm not feeling anxious about it anymore, because obviously seeing you for the first time, I was so anxious.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you're going to say, especially when you have no plan of like, how is this going to go down? And I think what would have been powerful for me is to have had some kind of, you're really good at the journal where you can like organize, number one, what are my boundaries? Number two, what is our future going to look like? Number three, like breaking down things like that instead of the lump sum of the issue to organize how things are going to go out in the end.
Right. And
so how can we give someone like a prompt?
Oh my God, I love how like interactive. So like you're like nailing the powerful stuff format. It's so good. So yeah, I think it would be like, what do I like miss about this person?
Yes.
What do I want to take ownership for?
We should put this in the
show notes.
In the show notes.
Yeah. But that's great. Like, what do I miss about this person? What do I want to take ownership for? What do I want to make sure I communicate? And then I think also it's important when we ask to have a conversation with someone that, especially if there is stuff we want to take ownership for, that we make sure it's not a monologue and we pause after we share stuff and check in. How did that make you feel? What came up for you? What was going on for you at this time? And showing them that we like equally care, not just about getting something off our chest, but also like hearing how the other person was feeling at the same time and making sure it's a dialogue and not a monologue. So I think that those would be the great questions. And it was such an eye-opening conversation for me because I went into it with no expectation. I was still
you don't want to hurt yourself.
Yeah, I was still being guarded because I was like, in my mind, because this has happened with me with past ex-boyfriends where like they want to reach out but it's like more to clear their conscience than it is to like reignite something. And so I was like, if I'm agreeing, I still have to go into it with no expectation. Like she might just be clearing her conscience and I still might not hear from her again. So I kind of went into it with like, anything's on the table. I have no expectation. So then I wasn't going to be disappointed at the end.
I mean, same though too, because it would have been totally valid for you to be like, you're just not showing up as the friend that I expected you to be, and like it's not serving me anymore. You could have easily have just nipped it there and like that would have been it. So that's also a reason why I was anxious too.
And it's like we both were kind of going into the unknown, and then it was eye-opening for me when you told me like, I don't like, I get like social anxiety and I don't always want to go to these events, or I don't always want to do breath work. I remember you saying, and it was so funny to me because in my mind I like never have ever thought of it that way, but clearly it was like true, like it felt true for you of like, in my mind I'm like, oh, I'll just invite my friends to like the events that I'm hosting if they want to come.
It was like a whole thing.
If they want to come, great. Like otherwise I'm so happy to just like make avocado flaxseed cracker toast with Abby and like sit and watch the sunset. Like I have, like you said, another friend who like never comes to my events, but will always make sure that they have like one-on-one time with me. Or if they, I can't come to this event, but how about we do this instead? And so it was so funny to me in my mind that it was funny to me in my mind that in your mind I was like, breath work or else, which is such a like funny Venice thing. But yeah, and I was so glad that you told me that, and it was almost like I wish you'd like, and of course we have the reasons why it wasn't shared like, years prior, but But I was like, oh, I wish that you had just told me then, because I would have like laughed and been like, you don't need to come to those events. Like we can do
It would have
whatever.
been just, yeah, exactly.
And it's
so
just
much easier.
and it's just like letting you know, and it is like a tricky line that I deal with because I'm always hosting events, and it's like I want people to know because they're cool and I love them, but I also don't want people to feel like I'm just reaching out to them to like come to my events. So it's like a tricky line that I like navigate in all sorts of like relationships, because people will be like, tell me the next time you do something, and then I will, but I don't want them to think that I'm like just reaching out to them for that, you know? But all of that's to say, so that was interesting. And then and then I kind of like left that first walk being like, oh, that was like interesting. Like Abby's clearly like reflected a lot. I had no idea how much I like meant to her, because like that's when you expressed it. But I think I might have said to you on the walk.
Of course you had no idea. I like seemingly didn't care at all or give a shit about our friendship, to where I'd never said anything or like asked how you were or like congratulations. I said congratulations on the engagement. I think that's the only thing I ever said to you.
Yeah. But look at us now. Success story.
Anyways, yeah, of course you felt like that.
But I think I might have said to you, or it was either on that walk or like the next time, because after those first times it's still a little bit unsettling because you're still not sure how it's going to unfold. And so I might have said to you then, or like the next time, like I'm I'd love to like see you again. Like for me, like I think would feel good if like you were reaching out more, because it won't make me feel good to like
show that you want to show up. Like if you want to show up and be this friend, like prove it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that would be like my recommendation to like listeners of like, if you are in this type of situation, stating what you need to feel like safe or good to like recommit to the friendship. And for me, I think I told you, like for me, I feel like safer recommitting if like for at least for the beginning phase, like you're making more of the effort. So I know that it's actually like serious for you and like meaningful for you, because otherwise it'll feel annoying if I'm like starting to invite you to like make a plan and like the flaking's happening again, and then I'll like feel foolish. So like that'll be my ask. Otherwise, like I just invite you to things that I'm doing anyways that I won't feel annoyed if you cancel on.
Yeah. It's funny too, because I don't know if the period was the same amount of time, but I was kind of going through a similar thing with my sister.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that.
You told me that on the other end.
She almost didn't invite me to her wedding.
Oh my gosh.
My own sister, my one sibling. And I don't remember when the wedding was, but she was pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like 2 weeks before giving birth that she had her wedding. And we were arguing because I sent her a voice note that was basically sibling energy of pretty much like, sounding like I could care less. And the way that I said what I said came off very hurtful. And she misunderstood because she thought I was saying, I don't want to see you. I don't really care about our family. But really I was saying, I hurt my neck. I'm not driving to Scottsdale because I don't want to help you move in August in Scottsdale. Because I'm injured. And if I knew that this whole thing was as big of a deal to you as it was, I would have gone. But she heard me say, the family doesn't matter to me.
Right.
So, and she saved that voice message, and it like really hurt her to where she didn't speak to me for like a couple months. And then it was just really, really weird because we've never had that before.
Yeah.
We were really close like my whole life. And then I had that same moment a couple months later where I call her and I'm crying and like I can't believe that I'm not going to be invited to her wedding, and I can't believe that she would think this way. And I really had to change my tone with her, because truly still I was apologizing for nothing because she misunderstood me, but I had to like really show a version that I actually did care. Like I really did care. And showing up to her wedding, which was literally in the desert, her husband, his best friend, and my sister's friend.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Whoa.
Not even my parents were there. Like nobody was really there because it was such a fast, like, let's just get married before we have the baby thing. So I ended up going and I did her makeup and I showed up for her. And it was like that catalyst moment that I really prove that I did care. Like I really did care. But the voice message was just simply that I didn't care about that situation. But it like got blown completely out of proportion. Number one, she was pregnant, so probably just emotional. But number two, I probably did come out sounding like very ingenuine and like didn't care. So yeah, that was another learning lesson. And I mended it by obviously showing up for her and going above and beyond. My boyfriend ended up taking photos of that wedding and like for them. And now they're framed in their house. And we really tried to make that effort. And then ever since that day, their wedding day, everything has been back to normal and better.
Yeah.
So it's funny how it takes me sometimes so long to like come around to things. It's different because in that situation, I didn't feel like I did anything wrong. So I was frustrated with my sister. But in this situation, I knew that I was just like not wanting to face myself and just didn't know how to like handle it.
Yeah. And I think both are equally valid in a way. 'Cause it's like your sister heard one thing and interpreted it that way. And it's like you still had to be like, okay, even though that's like not my intention and that's not what I meant, I'm still going to come and show up for you and go above and beyond, because like if I kind of hold my pride in this situation, then you'll have even more of a reason to like feel that way if I like miss your big day. And so it's like you did that for her in that way. And then with me, I think it was like after that first walk, I like, was kind of like a, scared animal, like learning to love again, if you will.
Amazing.
But you know what I mean? Like I was kind of like, it was kind of like wait and see, like, okay, we had this walk. She said these things. I like cleared the air with like, the buffet of my friendships and like of my invites. And I kind of struggled and went internally back and forth still, even after that. Should we invite them to the wedding? Because we do have this deep history together. But again, for the reason I expressed at the beginning of the podcast of being fearful of like being rejected. I didn't. But then I was like pleasantly surprised because you did keep showing up and like would text me to hang out. And we had like our few beach moments, and I saw you on your birthday last year, and it was like sweet moment of like, oh, I'm actually like spending like a special day of the year with her. And then we had another moment like right before,
which she even still wrote me a card and got me a gift on my birthday, even after all of that.
Oh, your other gift should be coming in the mail soon.
Such an icon. I love
Great.
you.
I love you. And so that was sweet. I was like, okay, she is like making an effort, and she's introducing me to other people in her other world. Like you had introduced
including you now.
Yeah, you had introduced me to your friend Carlin. Shout out Carlin.
Yay.
If you're listening. We love you. Like, okay, she's like not like trying to keep like separate worlds or whatever. And because I feel like with my friends, very like generous and open with like wanting everyone to connect or meet each other. And I feel like you certainly have been that way in the second chapter of our friendship.
Which has been a weird thing because I've never been someone to like get people together. But then I hosted like 50 girls of all my friend groups all together for a Christmas party last year. And that was like a whoa big moment. And recently bringing friends together and like them knowing each other, suddenly it just feels like it makes sense. Like I can't believe they don't know each other yet. Like why was it so weird for me to like include? I'm weird sometimes. Like there's something wired differently when it comes to like, I don't know, the way I think people might think of something and I assume, and then I just like don't act. I don't know how to explain it. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, but I feel like what we can do with anything, right? It's like having that initial awareness around it.
Yes,
it's like the first step. And then it's like noticing when it's happening again. But it is so funny because we have had like so many worlds collide moments, like you meeting my college roommate, Anna, like separately through like a different friend group. And like, so it's like all of the worlds coming together. But I will say like before the wedding, we did have like another beach hangout. I think this was like meetup 3 or 4 after that first talk where it was like, okay, like she's for real. Like this is happening again. Like we're doing this. And it was kind of like the elephant in the room for the first half of the conversation on the beach of like, I am getting ready for my wedding, but I wasn't really talking about it.
Yeah.
That part with you. 'Cause like you weren't invited. And then finally, like you said something, you're like, by the way, like, I want you to know that like kills me that I'm not going to be at your wedding, but I totally understand. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to not say something about it. Like, I was so excited about it for you to like just not mention it because, again, elephant in the room, it was happening like that weekend or something. And like to
yeah.
not even acknowledge it at all was like weird on both ends. And it was that same kind of like avoidance thing that I was doing, like a pattern.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that to like be I just wanted it to all be
Like be clean
open.
slate.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of you because you like caught it and like broke the
Thanks.
pattern in the moment. Because I was like not sure if I should say anything or just like talk about my wedding because I didn't want to
Well,
be
no, because then if you
insensitive.
bring it up, yeah, exactly. Or
Yeah.
just like, yeah, my wedding's next weekend. I'm so excited. Like, what were you supposed to say? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And also, you're not coming.
Yeah.
It's just like, let me just address this.
Yeah, but it was like sweet and it was like, yeah, like you said, kind of like, okay, I've noticed it. Like
Oh, and then I painted them the cute little like wedding card
I
and had them
know we
over
still
for
have
dinner to like
that.
celebrate the wedding.
And that was so sweet because like in that beach moment, you like shared like I get why you didn't invite us. You didn't make me feel weird. Like you gave me permission. You're like, I want to hear about it. Like tell me what you're excited about after we had like a little cry of like you being like, I'm not going to be there and you are one of my best friends, but I get it and I want to celebrate you anyways, which I feel like is such a great way to handle it if like you aren't invited to a friend's thing like baby shower, wedding or whatever, because it's like ultimately at the end of the day, it's like about that person's like day. And I really respect how you like made it about me without making me feel guilty
Yeah.
about you. And so I feel like that's also just a great like side mark for the listeners. Like if you are hurt because like someone didn't invite you to something, to not make it about you, but to rather be like, hey, like I want to celebrate you for doing this. Let like when all the dust has settled after your wedding or your big whatever, I would love to take you out for like XYZ or celebrate you with this and show them that you have like no ego about not being invited and that you're willing to like step up for whatever reason that you weren't.
Yeah. Like show you genuinely care about the person.
Yeah. And that's how I felt. Like you were like, okay, I'm not going to be there, but I want to have you and Spencer over for dinner after your wedding and you can
Show up.
Yeah.
Show up for the people you care
up.
about.
Yes, everyone show up. If that's one thing you're getting from this powerful stuff. And it was so sweet because it was like an added extension of our like wedding honeymoon phase. Like after our wedding, you followed up about it. We went over to your house. You made us that beautiful hand-painted card of me on Spencer's motorcycle with him.
With his little man bun.
With his little man bun. And
the
got us
mountainscape.
Yes, got us a sweet little gift and cooked us a really nice dinner.
What did I make?
I feel like roasted veg.
It's like a soup of sorts.
Yeah.
I a stew.
Yeah. It was tasty and nourishing. But I felt like, oh, she's really like, she says something, she follows through. She says something, she follows through. And it helped repair the like trust.
Yeah.
Around the flakiness from the first part.
Good point. Yeah. The trust.
Yeah.
But also I had to trust myself going forward to know that I was actually going to show up. Because you can easily be like mending the friendship, but then like not follow through with things.
Yeah.
But you have to like know how it's going to impact that person. Like really show up.
Yeah. And like empathize internally. And what was your like thought process around that? Like when you did have like that cry with me on the beach ahead of the wedding and like after like of like, yeah, like how you devised like what you were going to do and like, was it feeling like comfortable at that time or still uncomfortable?
I just wanted to make sure that I held myself accountable.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't going to let this one slide because when you care about somebody and something enough, you will show up for it. And I just held myself to it. And it's like easy to do that when you actually care and you actually really want it. There was no doubt. There was no flakiness. There was just like, this is what's going to happen and I'm going to execute and I'm going to do it right. And I was ready to do that. And honestly, within that year and a half time, maybe that was the amount of time that I needed to like really miss and appreciate our friendship to like really want to put in the time and effort again. Because otherwise, maybe I would have been 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And like, we wouldn't have really come here. We wouldn't be filming this episode. We wouldn't have gone through all of these experiences together to now hopefully help other people through similar situations. So all in all, like just being consistent when you say you're going to proves a lot to the friendship, the friend, and obviously yourself. So it was, you know, the new awakening of who I wanted to be in the friendship, but also in life. And I didn't want the weight of me just not seeming to be a good person. Like, I didn't want to be a flaky person. No, I don't think anybody wants to be that. But it's like, also, if you are a flaky person, you know why you're doing it. And you can prevent it by communicating. That's kind of like the biggest thing.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, Brene Brown says clear is kind.
Yeah.
And it's like the idea of like, even if we don't have the solution, just communicating how we're feeling is like the clear and kind thing to do, because it lets the other person in on the conversation. And then you both can decide together how to move forward.
Yeah. And the boundaries.
And the boundaries, exactly. But I think that is like really like deep self-reflection of like, I don't want to be the flaky person. Like, this is how I want to show up. Were you doing like internal work or visioning during that time before reaching out to me? Or it was just something that you were like sitting with, that through conversations with other people, you're like, okay, it's like,
I mean,
time to shift.
we obviously have similar friend groups,
Yeah.
and your name comes up quite frequently because you're always hosting things, doing things, you're just out and about.
Yeah.
And when there were just certain friend things that just seemed so nice and simple to be at, but then I just like wouldn't go because you'd be there, it was just becoming such an issue. And I'm like, why is this such an issue?
Yeah.
Why is this here? I don't even know why this is here anymore. And then just hitting it head on eventually. And I think also going through what I did with my sister, and that like, I just wanted to clear my conscience with everyone. And I think at that time too, I like reached out to my ex and like cleared up a lot, because I think he had a moment of thinking like this might come back around. And I was like, no,
It won't.
it won't. And like, I never really closed the loop.
Right.
So I needed to like close things, open things back up, just move through all of the shit on my shoulders that I just was avoiding. And now I don't have anything that I'm avoiding. I feel like everything, like a clear conscience was really what I was looking for. And I got that by just being open with myself and consistent.
Yeah. Openness and consistency. It's so true. And it's like being honest with like our internal hard truths. But then I think, like you said, being consistent is what really built our friendship back together. Because it was like not just telling me that you missed me, but like showing me that you missed me. And then like continuing to follow through. And then over that, after that kind of first phase of maybe like 5 or 6 hangouts, I like started to feel comfortable enough to like first extend invites to you of like maybe workout classes or things that I would do anyways. And then like as we started following through, then I was like, okay, now we can actually like make bigger plans with Abby. Like I was like in coaching my inner
we
child,
actually
like
felt
it's safe.
It's funny because Meredith and I have this like yay thing that we do together, and we'll like, before this whole thing happened, when I saw you, we would both like get all squealy and excited and like jump into each other's arms, like I'm so excited to see you. And then as the flakiness started to like happen, I could sense like, hi, like it just wasn't the same energy. And like even seeing you for the walk thing, I wanted so badly, and I missed you so much that I just wanted to jump into your arms, but then we weren't there yet. And then we just, now I feel like we are there again, which is just so refreshing. And it's so nice to know that when you have something that means a lot to you, and it goes away, it doesn't necessarily mean it's gone if you just put in effort.
Totally. Absolutely. 1,000%. And it's like you said, like
drop the mic.
I mean, we're done here. That's basically it. Wait, let's how much time we have. Oh, we're perfect. Okay.
But then also one more thing is like how I said it was just so much different with my sister, because she and I weren't we're siblings. So for me, obviously her being energetically how she was to me, I acted differently to her because she was my sister, but I don't think I would have been that way in a friendship or a relationship. It's just like a sibling thing. So it's different, I guess, if you have like a tiff with a sibling, because you just
sort it out.
You don't really have that same, I don't know. I'm sometimes mean to my sister compared to like how I am to other people.
Right.
Because she's my sibling.
They're
she's blood. She'll always
they'll be there always. And also they've been there when our deepest patterns have formed.
Yeah, she would always say like, well, you're so much nicer and better with your friends than you are with your own sibling. And I'm like, I don't know what that is, but that is a real thing. And I feel like siblings can kind of just like be mean to each other more frequently.
Yeah.
And so with the friendships too, it's like, it was a different approach to that, and also a different approach to relationships. Like throat closing situation, narcissistic people, like there's so many different avenues here, and I just I hope we helped you through. a multitude of different scenarios.
Yeah, no, but it's true. And I think there's this Ram Dass quote that it's like, you think you're enlightened, try go spending a week with your family. And I think that kind of touches on the sibling thing in a way of like, of course, like when in repairing friendships, that's important. It's someone we're choosing to have in our life, right? They don't have to be in our life, but a sibling, it's like there's another layer of like obligation or sense of like, this is my family for life, that we can kind of test the boundaries of like our meanness or our unprocessed like anger or whatever.
Yeah. You also know them on a deeper level too. Them. So it's like different.
And exactly.
You know them through and through.
Yeah.
So you already kind of like.
And you know which buttons to push.
Like sometimes she'll call me and I'll be like, hello? Like as if I don't want to talk to her. But I would never do that with a friend.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
And so I think it's like but like what you said, you like you're like, I'm going to show up, I'm going to recommit, and like making our siblings and our family feel as chosen as we make as we make our friends feel. And that's like the true thorough like implementation and integration of this. Is when we can do it with our siblings. Shout out Karen. If you're listening. Karen and Summer, we love you.
We love you.
Hello. Oh my God, it's my sister.
Yay.
Yay. So sibling trip in the future. Watch this space. Powerful stuff. Powerful siblings. But yeah, so last little like question here, and then we can wrap it up with some takeaways and a medi. But with all of your new friendships that you've started after this, like what have some of your like lessons from our friendship situation been that you've carried into like new friendships you build foundations into?
Yeah. So there have been some instances where I don't want to go to a thing that I might have committed to with some friends, and like it'll be that same, oh shit, this is me about to be flaky right now. And it's a voice note now. It's like a real call. It's like not texting and saying, hey, I'm sick, I don't want to come, I'm sorry. It's, hey, here's where I'm at. I don't have the mental bandwidth or capacity to engage fully in this environment. And I hope you understand that that's just something I'm working through and going through. Maybe my period's coming. Maybe there's just so many reasons why I wouldn't want to be in a social environment.
Yeah.
And being with people who understand that you may or may not be able to partake in certain things because of how you're feeling, and understanding it, like that is critical. For example, my boyfriend will go places and he'll be the last one standing at the party. I go home when I'm done. Like I don't want to stay, and he understands that. And he'll go to events and things without me being there, because simply he'll be better off if I'm not there, because my energy is not there. And so I know when to and when not to commit to something, and just being able to communicate that with people who understand and don't ever make me feel guilty for not showing up. Because in reality, had I just been vocal to you about why I didn't want to go to certain things instead of just be flaky, you would have understood and we would have like figured out a solution. So I've been preventing that. And my friends, instead of taking it personally and thinking that I don't ever want to hang out with them, they know that it's just sometimes, honestly, I'm an introvert. Human design.
Yeah.
I'm a 5'2".
Okay.
Which is like a heroic hermit, essentially, was the 5 and the 2. 2 is like my
hermit.
Yeah.
That's so great.
My 2 is like a version of me which it made so much sense when I got this chart done. If you haven't done your human design, I highly recommend looking into it. But me being a 5'2", the 2 is a very like introvert shell version of me that I don't ever really want to like partake in things. But then the heroic side of me is like, I want to say yes. So it's like battling back and forth, yin and yang. And it's like, oh wow, okay. It made me feel better to be like, that makes sense why I don't even know if I have social anxiety as much as I just sometimes don't want to do things. Like I'd rather be home and I'd rather not talk to people.
Yeah.
Like it's simple.
And that's fair. And I love human design because they give us permission.
Yes.
To like be how we already are. Like I'm a Manny Gen, manifestor generator.
Me too.
Oh my God.
Manny Gen 5'2".
Okay, I don't know my like other lines. Did you get it read by somebody?
I got the whole thing. It was like a 3-hour long. Yeah, Emma.
Oh, send me her info. I would get like a longer one with her, because I just know like the Manny Gen part. But yeah, it gave me so much permission to be like, oh, it's okay that I have a lot of interests and that I have my hands in a lot of things and I don't work a traditional work day like other people.
It was really interesting because she showed me like the whole chakra system in the body and which ones were open and closed for me, which was cool.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Which ones are open?
My heart
I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my brain isn't. So
Oh.
like there's like a
A
disconnect. Yeah. There's so many disconnects. Like some are open, some are closed, and it's so interesting. Like that's just how they are naturally, and you can like do breath work and meditations and things that like really bring you into alignment, but they focus on certain parts of you that are out of whack. So
okay, well, everyone get your human design.
yeah.
So a brief interruption by our non-sponsored pod.
Yeah, and I'll also, maybe you'll leave the girl in the caption of who I got the human design reading from.
Yeah,
I'll give you the information for her.
I can put it in the show notes. But circling back to what you said about like the new friendships, I love that so much of like starting new friendships even off with like that honesty of like, oh, like thank you so much for inviting me to this. I don't have the bandwidth to be there, nothing about you, but like let's get a coffee next Tuesday. And I think like telling people, reminding people, because we're all sensitive beings, like it's not personal to them, that you're grateful for the invite, and following up with another time that you'd like to see them in an environment that feels like energizing for you, shows them that you do care. It's like when we just say no or like can't make it, and then you're like, cool.
Yeah, but even if it's like you live far away from them and you just don't simply feel like going, don't come up with an excuse and say you're sick or blame it on your partner or something. Yeah,
just be honest.
Just be honest, and they will understand, because I'm sure there's been times when that person also has been in that same position of not wanting to do something.
Totally.
It's not that they don't want to see you. It's that they just don't want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
and
it can also be fine. And sometimes a voice note is like sufficient of like, but how are you? Tell me what's going on. I've been thinking about you.
Yeah.
Like,
it shows how genuine you are. And when you text something out, it's like, you also could be typing too much and it could be feeling like an excuse, and just hearing a voice and showing like that tone. You genuinely care, and your tone. Yeah.
And I love that so much. And I feel like in our second wind of friendship, you've done such a great job of like, inviting me into your other worlds, in like being proactive, and also like you said, when we are together, reflecting back qualities of me that you love, which makes me feel really seen, and like, you know, really both of us being curious about each other's like, you know, other stuff going on in our personal lives and also our professional lives, and masterminding, like wanting to see the other win and like helping give ideas for that. And like in the second wind of our friendship, part 2 chapter, like I wanted to enter like the NPR Tiny Desk competition, and like you helped film me at your house for an hour while I like set up my guitar, because you have a really nice filming studio, and just like these things of like showing like I do care. I am here to stay. So yeah, I've definitely felt the shift. I love it.
When it's something that you know adds value to your life, like you should definitely continue that thing. Yeah. And with everything.
Totally. And the funny thing too, that's kind of full circle with both of us too, is that we also had like, other friends that we were both close to a few years ago with similar, like in COVID, nothing happened with them, but we just kind of fell out of touch with them. And we had a lot of great stuff happen with them, and then they had a lot of life updates, and it kind of was like, oh, well, we haven't spoken to them in this many years, and after your and my second one, we're like, why don't we just reach out? And it was like nothing was wrong. They were happy to hear from us. We like reconnected with them, and then we had like dinner with them again last night.
I have some friends where I haven't talked to them in like a year and a half, but we were so close that it was like a very jarring not to talk to you situation. But for other people, like we weren't that close, so then to randomly reach out, hey, let's hang out. You end up hanging out, and it ends up being like no time was lost, and you can catch up.
Totally. And sometimes it's just like friendships. Sometimes it's just like saying the thing and like letting them know like we miss you, like with that you know, those friends that we reached out to together were like, we miss you, like we were thinking of all these special memories we had with you. We'd love to get dinner again. And reminding people why you care. And then I think the other thing too is that I'll just remind you guys of, but I did a whole Powerful Stuff episode on how to communicate powerfully. And a good reminder too is like, if a friend genuinely did something to upset you and they are someone you want to have in your life, like bringing it up in a way where it's like, you know, kind of like a sandwich of like, I really care about you. I love you so much. And that's why I want to like say this thing, because I want it to bring us closer. And my hope is that like we have deeper understanding from it. And then sharing, you know, from not accusing them or their character, but like what the thing was from a very factual, chronological standpoint of like, when you said this, I took it this way. I know you probably, didn't know this, like assuming best intention, but it brought this up for me, which made me like shut down. Um, and then like asking them what came up for them, and then having a clear ask. My ask is like, in the future that you respect blank, or that this. And so I also feel like there's a way to catch things early before like resentment starts to build up or things go unsaid.
Yeah.
And again, it goes with like checking in, like, what is my intention? Is this someone that I want in my life? Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yay.
Yay city.
Yay city, USA.
Yay nation. Okay, we'll do a little medi, and then we'll kind of close with some ending. We can ping pong some questions for the listeners.
Okay.
Great. Okay, so if everyone wants to just get comfortable, we'll close our eyes once more, taking a deep breath in, taking another sip of air at the top, and then open mouth exhale. Slowing down your thinking mind, slowing down your nervous system. Another deep breath in. Bringing whatever relationship that's on your heart into your mind's eye as you take another sip. And then exhale, feeling that person with you in total presence. And then third and deepest breath in to breathe in love and curiosity to the situation. Another sip of air. And exhale, feeling it create this protective bubble of love around both of you. As you keep your eyes closed and turn your gaze inward, just imagining what's on your heart, imagining sharing that with this person in front of you, just letting everything out from a place of love, from a place of wanting to heal. Imagine letting everything out with them knowing that your intention is pure. And imagine feeling so deeply the love and the desire to heal in your heart that as you share these words or whatever is feeling true, that anything that leaves your lips is still coated in this love. Imagine your body and this feeling starting to get lighter and lighter as everything that is needed to be said, to come to the surface, starts to leave your lips with this love, turning into soil underneath the feet of you and this other person. Imagining them receiving it, and then seeing them in their highest self as they start to share what might be on their heart, letting yourself imagine whatever could possibly be on their heart, or potentially their perspective, even though it's your imagination, just allowing yourself to receive it without judgment, but simply viewing it as a loving release. So you now also get to experience them saying these things to you, couched in love, these words falling to soil beneath your feet. Seeing them grow lighter and lighter, more vitality as they allow themselves to be fully expressed and you allow them to be fully seen. And then telling them how grateful you are for them. How grateful you are for maybe a memory that you've shared that's deeply impacted you. How grateful you are for what your relationship has taught you. That they were a teacher in whatever way, shape, or form in thanking them. And then imagine breathing in all of the hurt from your past relationship with them and exhaling it, feeling it leave your feet, once again returning to earth. And then breathing in golden light and flushing it through your body as you look at them and you say, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Feeling them receive this prayer, this Ho'oponopono prayer. And then seeing them breathing in all of the hurt. And then seeing them exhale it like tar leaving through their heels into the earth. Seeing them breathe in again. Seeing them flush their body with golden light. And then hearing them say to you, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And then with both of you cleared, imagine putting both of your hands together and seeing and feeling this third entity form, all of this energy that has accrued between both of you, feeling it in between your palms and both of you exhaling the heaviness of that into the earth. And then breathing in and then exhale, flushing this whole third entity with golden light and both of you together to the whole situation and everyone else around involved, saying, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And as you pull your hands away, feeling the clarity, the clear channel between you and this other person, and asking your heart, what needs to be communicated to myself about this relationship? Trusting whatever comes up. And then asking your heart, is there anything I need to communicate to this other person? And if so, what? Letting it answer, trusting whatever it says. And then sending this other person golden light and golden love as you take another breath in, trusting in the perfection of how the relationship has already taught you and how it's meant to unfold, and exhaling that out. And then a second breath in, breathing awareness into this room, into your body, and exhale to open your eyes, coming back into this space. Okay. Wow.
Wow. You're so good at that.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thanks for being on the journey with me.
Of
Thanks for
course.
living the meditation with me.
So good.
So good. Okay. Shall we ping pong a few questions for the listeners to take with them from this episode?
Yes.
Would you like to start?
No.
Okay, perfect. I'll start. So I think that the first question would be getting clear on what do you want out of the relationship moving forward? Do you want it to heal? Do you want to have a second wind? What does your ideal scene of that relationship look like? Or is it just that you feel like something needs to be communicated and you're not actually interested in having a relationship with them? So I think it's getting clear on your intention and what does it look like, in your ideal world on the other side.
Okay, my question 2, what would be your boundaries and how are you going to set them in place going forward so that you don't feel like you're in an uncomfortable situation? And also so you don't feel like you're inconveniencing the other person. It's just something personal. And to get out of your head and practice not feeling bad about everything or like you're at fault for everything. We each have our own reasons why, and understanding what those reasons are, like you said, and then also creating the boundary and knowing how to limit it from going past that, so that everybody's on the same page and that you don't ever feel uncomfortable.
I love that. Yeah. Checking in with your needs and what do I need to communicate around my boundary? When do I feel good in this friendship? What do I need to communicate to feel safe? And then I think, the third thing I would say is, how can you take radical ownership in this if you're going to have a conversation with somebody about the part that you played in it, like, obviously you're going to go into it, you're going to hear their side of it. But what are some things that you internally can own, or truths that you can own of like what you've learned from the experience? Yeah.
And then I would say asking yourself, what is it about the friendship relationship that adds value to your life, and what makes you feel good?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And having that centered in your heart when you go and chat with them, like leading with love.
Yeah.
Leading with why you love them.
What's the why in the whole thing? And also asking yourself what happened in the beginning that made this an issue in the first place, so you can prevent it from happening again.
I love that. Yeah. Beautiful. So like, what is the why for it? Why is this friendship so special to me? Holding that in your heart and communicating that to them. And then what was that rupture? And maybe both of you checking in at the end of the conversation of, what does a repair look like? How will I feel like I can trust you? What do you need to trust me? And coming at that together.
This is perfect, because this is a perfect. So sometimes when I'm coming up with the way I want to say something, you know what I'm trying to say, and you can like define my verbiage, I guess. So you're very, very good at understanding, which is why this whole thing worked out, and why me coming to you with like, I don't really know what I'm thinking and feeling, I'm just going to say it. And you were able to like say what I was feeling and put words to it that I didn't understand. Like, you're kind of just doing that.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, love you.
Love you.
Thanks for
You're so good at that.
Holding the mirror.
And also the fact that you come up with these meditations just on the fly is just so impressive to me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I love doing the medis. I do have to shout out Laura Bowling at Hallowed Ground on Washington, who's also a psychic.
Oh, wow.
Who does that beautiful golden light part of the meditation with the Hawaiian Ho'oponopono prayer as a way to clear energy with someone, like internally, like the work that you can do before even speaking to them to like reset. And I can't tell you how many times I've done that before, like going into conversations with people and stuff.
Very good.
Okay. Well, as we wrap up, I would love for you to share with the Powerful Stuff audience what Abby Neff is up to. Where can people find you?
Thanks.
What kind of stuff are you doing in the world? Because you have so many beautiful like value adds to people as friends, but also in the amazing things you put out into the world.
Thank you. I model full time. I've been a model for the past 8 years, and professional, like doing real on-set stuff. And from that, I've been in the makeup chair with a lot of professionals doing my hair and makeup, and seeing my face as like a blank canvas. And I've taken away so many tips and tricks on how to look and feel your best in the most like natural way to make you just radiate and exude confidence. And also with modeling, I obviously have to look and feel my absolute best at all times. So I've translated that to my social media, where I'm making videos to help people just kind of channel that inner confidence without feeling like they have to change who they are, and rather just show you that you are the power and the tools are within you. So yeah, my YouTube is Abby Neff, ABBYNEFF. I post videos there every week. And I'm also doing a new challenge, I guess, for myself to like get the body of my dreams. And I'm doing that with a progress kind of channel. Instead of being like, here's how to lose 10 pounds, it's like, let's go through this journey together. So if you want to be a part of that, it's coming out soon. Also, my TikTok is abby.neff, and so is my Instagram. And I share more of my makeup tutorials, skincare tips and tricks, how I do my hair, fashion, wellness, how I cook, how I do all the things. So yeah.
Yay. I love that.
I hope to see you there.
I'm so influenced already.
Thanks. I try to make it more of a, how can I help show you something or share and teach, versus like, here's how I do this. Like, I just want it to be more
like accessible for people to do it themselves.
More of a learning platform.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I do feel like I learn a lot from watching your videos. In case you guys were wondering, she's unmuted now.
Yeah. Which actually she'll like say something like, oh yeah, I saw you were doing this. And I'm like, yes. yes.
You sure
She
did.
sees me now.
I see you.
Yeah.
And I love it. Yeah. And I get a lot of like makeup and hair tips from that as
Thank
well.
you.
So thanks for helping make us all feel our most empowered, beautiful self from the inside out. Oh, yeah. This is
Yay.
an early Abby Neff, one of our first friendship conversations of talking about your Align with Abby
I
vision.
know. I was doing a whole other platform, Align with Abby.
And now it's cool.
Essentially the same thing. It's just fused. I just couldn't put my modeling world and my influencing world in one. And now I was just like,
this is
I'm
me.
going to combine them all and just, I am who I am. Yeah. Another thing. Just, I don't want to like separate myself. I just want to like be me.
I love that. So much exciting like growth and power to like bring all parts of you together.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, thanks for having this vulnerable conversation.
Very vulnerable. I really hope that we help mend a friendship, and also let us know.
Yeah,
I would love to hear.
We want to hear all of your beautiful friendship stories. If you need a little encouragement beforehand,
or
let
advice,
us know.
Reach out, anything.
Yeah, we're here for you.
I know that as I was talking, I'm like, there's so many different situations, so I'm sure like ours was obviously just one example, but
totally
there's so many different ones, so I'd love to hear.
Yeah, we'd love to hear all the nooks and crannies and be of help any way we can. So thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week for more powerful stuff. Hey you. Thank you for coming on this powerful journey with me. I hope it was as powerful for you as it was for me. And if it was, it would mean the world to me if you rate, review, and subscribe to Powerful Stuff so I can keep bringing you the goods. We can keep going on this transformative journey together. And if there's powerful stuff that you want to share with me, with the Powerful Stuff community, tag us on Instagram